Warm wishes everyone. We are group 3 and we are assigned with page number from 14 to 20 of the novel The Old Man and the Sea. The Old Man and the Sea is a beautiful novel written by the famous writer Ernest Hemingway, and the major characters in this novel was Santiago. Santiago was the old fisherman, and the other people describe him as the unlucky fisherman because he was not able to catch a single fish for last 84 days. And another important character was Manolin. Manolin was Santiago's apprentice and devoted attendant. Next important character was Marlin. Marlin is an 18-foot bluish billfish that Santiago spends the majority of the novel tracking and attempting to bring to shore. And sea also plays a major role in this novel because most of the story was spent in the sea, and in this story Santiago describes the sea as a woman. Now Santiago was during the journey to catch fish through the sea, and during the journey Santiago see many sea creatures, and one of them was green turtle. He identifies his herd with that of the turtle, which continues to beat for hours even after being cut up. In this portion, the Santiago compares his herd with that of the turtle. He also remembers how he was derived strength from the turtle eggs. He used to drink up a cup of shark liver oil every day, which gave him resistance to cold. It was good for the eyes also. And during the journey, he saw the silver tuna jumping in the air one after another, and he also succeeded in catching it. It was the type of tuna called abaco, which is estimated to weigh 10 pounds. And when Santiago catches abaco, he said aloud abaco, and in this time the old man tries to remember when he was started to talk loudly. He justifies this habit by saying that rich men have their radios to talk, whereas he has nothing of that sort. He tries to focus on fishing rather than thinking about everything else. And again he started to focus on catching the fish. He started to sweat profusely and sensed a need a relax, but he felt that he can't afford to rest.
Yes, he said yes, and shipped his oars without bounding the boat. He reached out for the line and held it softly between the thumb and forefinger of his right hand. He felt no strain, no weight, and he held the line lightly. Then it came again. This time it was a tentative pull, not solid, not heavy, and he knew exactly what it was. 100 fathoms down, a marlin was eating the sardines that covered the point and the shank of the hook, where the hand-forged hook projected from the head of the small tuna. Santiago was struggling to catch the fish. Then he reached out for the line and held it softly between his thumb and forefinger of his right hand. At first, he held his line softly. Then he felt a light pull, and this time it was a tentative pull, but it was not heavy and not solid. But he knew what fish it exactly was. This is because he have a lot of experience in fishing, and so he knew that what fish has come to his trap. And then the man held the fish delicately and softly. The old man held the line delicately and softly with his left hand, unleashed it from the stick. Now he could let it run through his fingers without the fish feeling any tension. Then, using his left hand, this far out, he must be huge in this month, he thought. Eat them, fish, eat them, please eat them, how fresh they are. And you down there 600 feet in that cold water in the dark, make another turn in the dark and come back and eat them. So Santiago predicted that the fish must be huge when he sensed the pull. And he's asking the fish to eat the sardines, and he's calling the fish to eat them. And we can understand that the fish is about 600 feet away from him, and which is in the dark. And he's asking him to make another turn to come into the hook and eat the sardines. and he felt a light, delicate pulling and then a harder pull when a sardine's head must have been more difficult to break from the hook. Then there was nothing. Come on, the old man said aloud, make another turn, just smell them, aren't they lovely? Eat them good now. And then there is the tuna, hard and cold and lovely. Don't be shy, fish, don't be shy, fish, eat them. And this states that there is not only sardines, but there is also tuna which is attached to the hook, and these Santiago is calling the marline to come.
Good morning to all. Today I am speaking about a paragraph in the story The Old Man and the Sea. He was feeling the gently pulling, and then he felt something hardly and unbelievably heavy. It was the weight of the fish, and he let the line slip down, unrolling of the first of the two reservoirs. As it went down, slipping slightly through the man's fingers, he still could feel the great height through the pressure of his thumb finger were almost imperceptible. What a fish, he said. He was it sideways in his mouth now, and he is moving off with it. Then he will turn and swallow it, he thought. He did not say that because he know that if he said a good thing, it might not happen. He know what a huge fish this was, and he thought of him moving away in the darkness with that aruna felt crossways in his mouth. At the moment, he felt him stop moving, but the weight was still there. Then the weight increased, and he gave more line. He tightened the pressure of his thumb and finger for a moment, and the weight increased and was going straight down. He's taken it, he said. Now I will let him eat it well. He hit the line, slipped through his finger while he reached down with the feet, left hand, and made fast the free end of the two reserve coil of the loop of the two reserve coil of the next line. He was ready. He had 340 phantom coil of line in reserve knot, as well as the coil he was using. Eat it a little more, he said. Eat it well. Eat it so that the point of the hook goes into our head and kills you, he thought. Come up easy and let me put the harpoon into you. All right, are you ready? Have you been enough at able? Now he said aloud and struck hard the both hands, gained a yard of the line and then struck again and again, swinging with each arm alternately on the cord with all the strength of his arms and the pivoted weight of his body. Nothing happened. The fish just moved away slowly, and the old man could not raise him an inch. His line was strong and made for heavy fish, and he held it against his back until it was a thought that bits of water were jumping from it. Then it began to make a slow hissing sound in the water, and he still held it, bracing himself against the thwart and leaning back against the pull. The boat began to move slowly offward to northwest. The fish moved steadily, and they traveled slowly on the calm water. The other bites were still in the water, but there was nothing to be done.
I wish I had the boy, the old man said aloud. I am being towed by a fish and I am the towing bit. I could make the line fast, but then he could break it. I must hold him all I can and give him line when he must have it. Thank God, he is traveling and not going down. Here we can see that the old man thinks about the Malawian boy and he wish he had the boy with him. But now he was being towed by a fish and he was the towing bit. He also thankful to the fish that it is not pulling him down. What I will do if he decided to go down, I don't know. What I will do if he sounds and dies, I don't know. But I will do something. There are plenty of things I can do. He held the line against his back and watched its lines in the water and the skiff moving steadily to the northwest. Here the fisherman asked himself that what he will do if the fish decided to go down. What he will do if he sounds and dies, he don't know. But there are plenty of things he can do, he thought himself. Then he held the line against his back and watched it slant in the water. It was noon when I hooked him, he said, and I have never seen him. He can do this forever, the old man thought. Here, both the marlin and the old man Santiago struggled to win this battle between each other. But it's been 4 hours since the fish was stored, and he was still swimming steadily out to sea, towing the skiff, and the old man he was still braced solidly with the line across his back. He had pushed his straw hat hard down on his head before he hooked the fish, and it was cutting his forehead. Here, we can see that both of them were wounded and exhausted by the fight. But Santiago has developed a compassion for the fish for his determination to escape. After the fight between the Marlin and the Santiago, he seems thirsty and tired. Then he opened the water bottle with one of his hands and drank a little, and then he rested against the bow. Santiago tries not to think, but simply endure. Then he looked behind him and saw that no land was visible. That makes no difference, he thought. I can always come in on the glow from Havana. Here, when Santiago realizes that he can no longer see anything of the land, he reminds himself that he can always sail back by following the glow coming from Havana at night. He still has his mouth shut tight on the wire. Here he has been embraced by the strength of the fish, and he wished he could see him. He wished to see what he have against him. The fish never changed his course nor his direction all that night, as far as the man could tell from watching the stars. Here, the fish had been pulling the boat to the northwest, and he realizes that the current must be carrying them eastwards now. He considered that if he loses the glare of Havana, then they must be going more eastward. So after the sun went down, he tied the sack that covered the bait box around his neck so that he'd hang down over his back, and he cautiously worked it down under the line that was across his shoulder.
I am explaining the paragraph in between A6 and B4. Here, the part says about the old man figuring a way out to get back to his house. For that, the old man looked for the direction the fish drove him. In between all this hardship, he says about the baseball. Even though he tried to change his mind by thinking about the baseball, he couldn't. He thinks about the boy. He wished he had the boy near to him to help him. Now the old man talked to himself. Then he explains about the purpose that came around him. With all the experience that he had, he could easily figure out which is male and which is female. After the whole drama happened, the old man starts talking about the fish. He began to pity the great fish that he has hooked. He was thinking why the fish is not making much struggle to escape. He says that a strong wild rush or a jump by the fish could make the boat upside down. But then he says that the fish do not know that he has been hooked up by an old man. All the paragraph explains about the old man's thinkings about the fish. Suddenly his memory flashed that the time when he caught one of a pair of marlin. He says that the male fish was always around the female fish. The old man was afraid that the male will somehow make the female escape by cutting the line with his tail. That's all my portion. Thank you.
Old Man and the Sea. The old man had hooked a female marlin once. The male fish always let the female fish feed first, and the female fish took the bait. Thus, it made a wild, despairing fight that soon exhausted her. All the time, the male had stayed with her, crossing the line and cycling with her on the surface. He had stayed so close that the old man was afraid to would cut the line with its sharp. When the old man had gave her and clubbed the female marlin, the male fish had stayed by the side of the boat. Gaved means the fishing gear used for large fish like whales. Then, while the old man was clearing the lines and preparing the harpoon also means used for catching large fish like material used for catching the large fishes like whales. The male fish jumped
high into the air beside the boat to see where the female was. It then went down deep into the water. That was the saddest thing he had ever seen. He had made the decision to remain under the deep, dark water, far from any snares, snaps, or creatures. I made the decision to go there in an effort to find him alone, greater than anyone in the planet. He have been unfilled as a group since noon, and neither of us had nobody to turn to. He reasoned that perhaps I shouldn't have been a fisherman, but that was what I was meant to do. After it gets light, I must surely remember to consume the tuna. Something ate one of the baits that was behind him sometime before dawn. When the stick broke, he heard the line start to stream out over the skiff's gunwale. Skiff means small boat propelled by snail or motor used to go. The the gunwale means it's a top side of the boat. He took the weight of the fish on his left shoulder, and he unlocked the knife in his belt, leaned back, and cut the line against the gunwale's wood. The shelf means a protective cover. It's used for knife. In the dark, he made the loose ends of the reserve coils fast after cutting the other line that was nearest to him. He held the coils in place as he tightened his knots with his foot while working deftly with one hand. Deft means skillful in physical movements, especially by his hand. He now had six backup coils of line. They were all interconnected and came from each of the two baits he had served as well as to that the fish are consumed.
This portion gives a motivational side to the story. The old man felt tired but with a strong mind to catch the fish. He encourages himself to fight against the fish. He also wishes that the Manolin was with him. He decides to fight against the fish for the Manolin and for himself. We can see that old man now understands the pain of the fish, even though he is fighting against it. He says that he don't know what kind of fish it would be, whether a shark or a marlin. Says that he will fight until the last, where one of them died. Though the old man was injured, he didn't mind. It was hard to kill the fish. When light touched his face, he felt refreshed. The old man praised of the fish. If the fish could jump so that he could recognize what kind of fish it is, the soft hearted behavior of the old man is revealed in the story.
He tried to increase the tension, but the line had been thought up to the very edge of the breaking point since he had hooked the fish, and he felt the harshness as he leaned back to pull, and no, he could put no more strain on it. It must not jerk it ever, he thought. Each jerk widens the cut the hook makes, and then when he does jump, he might through it. Anyway, I feel better with the sun, and for once I do not have to look into it. There was yellow weed on the line, but the older man knew that only made an added track, and he was pleased. It was the yellow gulf weed that made so much phosphorescence in the night. Fish, he said, I love you and respect you very much, but I will kill you dead before this day ends. Let us hope so, he thought. A small bird came toward the skiff from the north. He was a warbler and flying very low over the water. The older man could see that he was very tired. The bird made the stern of the boat and rested there. Then he flew around the older man's head and rested on the line where he was more comfortable. How old are you? The older man asked the bird. In this your first trip. The bird looked at him when he spoke. He was too tired even to examine the line and he tugged on it as his delicate feet gripped it fast. It's steady, the older man told him. It's too steady. You should not be that tired after a midless night. What are birds coming to? The hawks, he thought, that come out of the sea to meet them. But he said nothing of this to the bird, who could not understand him anyway and who would learn about the hawk soon enough. Take a good rest, small bird, he said, then go in and take your chance like any man or bird or fish. It encouraged him to talk because his back had stiffened in the night and it hurt steady now. Stay at my house if you like, bird, he said. I am sorry, I cannot hoist the sail and take you in with the small breeze that is rising, but I am with a friend. This is a part where there is a conversation between the bird and the old man. The bird comes to find his food, but feeling tired, he sat on the boat. The old man was very tired and he was lying to catch the fish, even though he was tired when the fish hook was straight. The bird stood up and asked if he was comfortable sitting in the fish hook. The old man talked to the bird as he was from the same species and encouraged him to find his food.
So now we are going to discuss about the journey of the old man and the struggles that he had faces throughout his journey. So here we begin. Suddenly a fish moves that resulted the old man to pull down to the bow, but if he didn't gear up himself, he may go. So he geared up himself and he tried his maximum, and the bird, who had been a company of the old man for not for a long period of time but only for a shorter period of time, had already flown up, but the old man came to know about it later. So later, and suddenly he noticed that his right hand was bleeding, but he doesn't give that much importance to his hand. He focused on his work. He tried to pull the line and turn the fish, but he realized that it is such a difficult task for him, and in order to do such a difficult task, he wants to remain fit and strong. So he took a fresh fish. He doesn't have any food with him, any water, any food item with him. So he decided to eat a fish he decided to eat a fish. So he took a fish and cut into stripes and spread them on the bow to keep it dry, and threw away the remaining part to the sea. So later he felt a great terrible cramp in his head, and he regretted himself having such hands. Afterwards what happened is that he ate a strip of meat and chewed it very well. He doesn't like it very much, but in order to survive he has to do anything. He has to eat anything. So only for that purpose he adjusted with it. So then he appreciated the meat of bonito and preferred it to the dolphin meat. The bonito means a small fish with the stripes on the back. That is bonito, and he prefers it to the dolphin meat. And he's having a little regret because he's having a small regret because he doesn't have a good preparation for his journey, because he hadn't taken some essential things like salt, lime, etc. And he also fed that the fish which would fed the fish which has also been very hungry, and he called his brother in his mind and started to kill the fish. So earlier we came to know that he is having a terrible cramp and bleeding his hand. So his right hand. So he thought he should give some relaxation to his right hand. So he gave much pressure to the left hand and his shoulders. Then what happened is that he is having a little fear. Even though he also have a little fear on his mind that even if the fish moves, he also will move down to the sea.
So he decided to adjust himself to match the fish immense size and confidence. So he attempted to release his first attempt but was unsuccessful. He later then blamed himself for showing such cruelty towards his hand. So that much about this chapter.